In 494 AD, Emperor Xiaowen of the Northern Wei officially announced the relocation of the capital to Luoyang. Following this, the Xianbei people, who had originally lived in the northern frontier, poured into the Central Plains in large numbers. However, this was only the beginning of Emperor Xiaowen's comprehensive policy of Sinicization for the Northern Wei regime. The more challenging tasks were still to come. The Xianbei were a nomadic people, accustomed to a free and unrestrained lifestyle of constantly moving in search of water sources and different pastures for grazing. Their customs, such as braided hairstyles, clothing styles, and overall appearance, were distinct from those of the Han Chinese, and most Xianbei did not speak the Han language. What made matters more difficult was that the Xianbei had only recently emerged from a tribal alliance society and entered a feudal autocratic era. As a result, they found it hard to establish a sense of cultural identity with the Han people, who had thousands of years of traditional cultural history. However, the gap between traditional cultures was precisely one of the main obstacles preventing a multi-ethnic dynasty from achieving successful unification. If these numerous issues were not addressed in a timely manner, they would inevitably undermine the Xianbei people's confidence in settling down in the Central Plains and risk causing Emperor Xiaowen's efforts to reform Xianbei customs and fully implement the policy of Sinicization to end in failure. Fortunately, with the support of loyal Han officials at the imperial court, these difficulties were overcome one by one. On December 2, in order to accelerate the progress of the Sinicization movement, Emperor Xiaowen issued an edict prohibiting officials and commoners from wearing ethnic minority clothing, mandating that everyone adopt Han-style attire. Court officials were also required to wear Han ceremonial robes. A few days later, another decree was issued exempting newly relocated households from land taxes for 3 years, encouraging them to cultivate the land granted by the government, settle down, and integrate into local society. Additionally, strong and skilled horsemen and archers were selected from among the new immigrants to serve as palace guards or members of the imperial guard, helping to resolve employment issues for some of the newcomers. In June of 495 AD, Emperor Xiaowen issued an edict forbidding the use of coarse northern dialects in the imperial court. Those who violated this order would be dismissed from their official positions. That same month, he issued another decree stating that Xianbei people who had relocated to Luoyang were to be buried in Henan after death and were not permitted to be reburied in Pingqing. As a result, all Xianbei who had moved from Dai Commandery to Luoyang became registered residents of Luoyang County in Henan Commandery. In 495 AD, the Jinyong Palace in the Luoyang Imperial Complex was completed. Emperor Xiaowen then issued a decree to establish the Taixue, the highest national academy in ancient China, within the city of Luoyang. He also founded the Guizi Shui, intended to educate sons of the nobility. This was a central government school that offered the same curriculum as the Taixue but was limited to the sons of officials ranked 5th or above. The goal was to train as many culturally educated and loyal officials as possible to help promote the Sinicization reforms across various levels of government. In September, the initial phase of construction on the new capital was completed. The emperor, empress, imperial consorts, and the entire civil and military administration of the central court moved from Pingqing to Luoyang, marking the full realization of Emperor Xiaowen's plan to relocate the capital. In January of 496 AD, Emperor Xiaowen ordered that Xianbei compound surnames be changed to single-syllable Han Chinese surnames. As a result, the imperial family's surname Tuoba was changed to Yuan. From that point on, Emperor Xiaowen, formerly Tuoba Hong, became Yuan Hong, and the crown prince became Yuan Sun. Xianbei surnames were no longer unusual or complex and became identical to Han surnames, another significant step in the process of Sinicization. To further promote integration between the Xianbei and Han peoples, Emperor Xiaowen strongly encouraged intermarriage. He took the lead by marrying daughters of prominent Han aristocratic families into the imperial harem and personally arranged for his 6 younger brothers to marry women from influential Han clans in the Central Plains. Additionally, Emperor Xiaowen adopted the Han dynasty's hierarchical clan system from the Wei and Jin periods. Within the Xianbei nobility, families were ranked and categorized by surname, and officials were appointed and privileges granted based on the status of their clan, mirroring the structure of traditional Han aristocracy. Emperor Xiaowen's Sinicization reforms greatly advanced the Xianbei's economy, culture, society, politics, and military. They also eased ethnic tensions, and this period became known in history as the revival under Emperor Xiaowen. However, resistance to Sinicization from the old Xianbei aristocracy and their descendants did not come to an end. In August of 496 AD, Emperor Xiaowen made an inspection tour of Mount Song, leaving Crown Prince Yuan-sun in charge of Jinyong Fortress, the military stronghold of the capital Luoyang. Yuan-sun had little interest in learning and was physically obese. He particularly disliked the hot weather in Luoyang and often longed for the pleasures of the former capital, Pingqing, frequently thinking of returning north. He refused to speak the Han language or wear Han clothing, even going so far as to tear up all the Han-style garments gifted to him. Instead, he stubbornly reverted to traditional Xianbei customs, undoing his hair into braids and wearing left-lapped robes. His attendant official, Gao Daoyue, repeatedly advised him with earnest words, but Yuan-sun not only ignored the counsel, he also harbored resentment over it. Emperor Xiaowen's inspection tour provided Crown Prince Yuan-sun with an opportunity. He conspired with his close confidants and secretly selected 3,000 imperial horses from the palace, plotting to flee to the former capital, Pingqing. He even personally killed Gao Daoyue within the palace grounds. Once the plot was exposed, Yuan Yan, commander of the Imperial Palace Guard, dispatched troops to tightly secure all palace gates, successfully preventing the situation from escalating further. While Emperor Xiaowen was on his way south to Mount Song, he learned of the incident and was greatly shocked and deeply saddened. He kept the matter strictly confidential and continued with his inspection as planned before returning to the capital. He summoned Crown Prince Yuan-sun, repeatedly reprimanded him for his crimes, and personally whipped him. Then, he convened his ministers to discuss deposing the crown prince. The palace officials who had been tutoring the crown prince hurriedly removed their hats, kowtowed, and begged Emperor Xiaowen for forgiveness. The emperor responded, "Your remorse is for your own sake, but what I am discussing is a matter of great state importance." The ancients said, "Righteousness outweighs family ties." Now Yuan-sun dares to defy his father and betray the emperor, intending to seize control of the Han and Shuo provinces. There has never been a country in history that disregards a father's authority. Yuan-sun harbors such treacherous intentions and has acted on them. If we do not remove this boy today, he will bring great disaster to the state. After my death, I fear it will lead to a repetition of the Yongjia chaos of the Western Jin. The Sinicization reforms promoted by Emperor Xiaowen faced opposition from conservative forces within the Xianbei people. Crown Prince Yuan-sun's attempt to flee back to Pingqing, which was the stronghold of the old Xianbei aristocracy, and his collusion with rebellious factions deeply enraged Emperor Xiaowen. In the same year, December, Yuan-sun was deposed and reduced to commoner status, then imprisoned in Wubiqing in Haiyang. In the same month that Yuan-sun was deposed, Mu Tai, governor of Hangzhou, and Lu Rui, along with others, prepared to launch a coup in the old capital, Pingqing, conspiring to enthrone Prince of Yangping, Yuan Yi. Most of these conspirators were members or descendants of the old Xianbei aristocracy. They were dissatisfied with Emperor Xiaowen's appointment of Confucian scholars from the Central Plains, and opposed the relocation of the capital, the changes in official uniforms, and the prohibition of their old language. Among the Northern Wei imperial clan officials, Prince of Dongyang Yuan Pai openly wore traditional Xianbei clothing at grand court assemblies without restraint. Emperor Xiaowen, seeing his old age and declining health, did not press the issue. Early after the move to Luoyang, Yuan Pai's sons Yuan Long and Yuan Chao had even attempted to kidnap Crown Prince Yuan-sun to keep him in Pingqing, and raised troops to control Han and Shuo provinces north of Yanmen Pass. Although their plot failed, their rebellious intent remained alive, and this time they conspired with Mu Tai and others to foment an even larger rebellion. Fortunately, Prince of Yangping Yuan Yi remained loyal to Emperor Xiaowen. He pretended to promise support in order to stabilize Mu Tai and the others, but secretly reported the rebellion plot to the court. Upon receiving the news, Emperor Xiaowen was greatly alarmed and immediately summoned Prince of Renqing Yuanqing. A talented statesman skilled in both civil and military affairs, Yuanqing was devoted to his parents and had been praised by Empress Dowager Feng since childhood. He strongly supported Emperor Xiaowen's Sinicization reforms for northern Wei. At the time, Prince of Renqing Yuanqing was bedridden, but with the situation urgent, he accepted the mission despite his illness and hurried northward via Yanmen Pass directly to Pingqing, the administrative center of Hangzhou. He first sent the attendant censor Li Huan to enter the city alone, catching the rebels by surprise. Li Huan informed Mu Tai and his followers, warning them of the consequences of their actions, which caused the rebel faction to collapse almost immediately. With no options left, Mu Tai hastily led several hundred men in an attack against Li Huan but was defeated and fled to the west side of the city, where he was captured. Yuanqing thoroughly investigated Mu Tai's conspiracy, imprisoning over 100 people including Lu Rue. The people felt reassured. Yuanqing also compiled a detailed report of the rebellion and submitted it to the court. In January of 497 AD, Prince Yuanku was established as the new crown prince. After the rebellion was suppressed, Emperor Xiaowen, recognizing that the old Xianbei nobility and various northern ethnic chieftains could not endure the hot southern climate of the Central Plains, permitted them to reside in Luoyang during the autumn and return north to their tribes in the spring. At that time, these groups were nicknamed the Goose Ministers, after a local migratory bird.